Skywatch Media News for the third week of April 2018. There has been a great deal of speculation about the Sun and its interaction with the Earth and all planets that revolve around its presence. Stories have surfaced which claim that the Sun is dying or that the Sun has entered into a long slump in activity, known as a solar minimum. And yet neither of these arguments are scientifically accurate. Rather, they are quite misleading. Observations of the Sun over the past 30 years indicate that the Sun's magnetic field has increased in strength during the past century, as represented in the variance of solar cycle activity. Now it looks as though solar physicists are no longer able to predict or emphasize the time or the duration of solar cycles. In the current cycle, as well as the previous two cycles dating back to the late 20th century, observations regarding the characteristics and the duration of solar cycle activity have been completely inaccurate. In fact, the model for predicting these cycles is becoming obsolete. The solar system is entering into some sort of dense energy region and increasing the Sun's magnetic field, which is having a profound effect on the planets and their moons. This is evident from observations of the atmosphere and the brightness of the planets, which is changing. An example of this can be seen in the night sky with the planets Venus and Jupiter, both of which are incredibly luminous. You can almost touch them. With respect to the Earth, it is presently experiencing a speedy polarity migration of 35 miles per year, which is creating severe climate change across the Earth. Our world is also experiencing a tremendous increase in heightened geological activity since the early 20th century, with an increase in both numbers and intensity. The occurrence of natural disasters has also increased substantially, including superstorms and floods that have occurred in the past 30+ years. The records of the number of snow events, catastrophic storms, heat waves, and floods is being broken every year for the last 20 years, where each year new records are being set. The main cause for the rise in geological activity, in climate change, and in major disasters has to do with the increase of energy at the Earth's core, which is approaching consequential levels. What the increase in energy is doing is allowing the magnetic reversal process to speed up. If you understand this, then you know that geological activity depends on the movement of tectonic plates, which are linked to the process of magnetic reversal. The question that many observers have posed is what effect a magnetic reversal would have on Earth's stability, and what impact it would ultimately have on civilization. What they discovered is that a magnetic reversal wouldn't just affect compasses and GPS systems. It would greatly increase volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, sea level changes, the spreading of the Earth's crust, and an uplift in mountain ranges. So what then is the cause of the dramatic increase in the energy output of the Earth's core? The most logical reason can be found in the increase in solar and cosmic radiation, which points to a change in the position of our Sun, in which it would rise above the galactic plane. In a previous video, I discussed how our Sun is tilting by 6 degrees to the equator. It is doing this because of the presence of a massive body in the solar system. A report that originated from solar physicists who study the Sun's long-term activity have confirmed that this is happening. So clearly something significant is happening to the Sun, which affects all other planets. Magnetic radiation will reach its peak when the Sun reaches its highest point in the galaxy. Our solar system is part of a dynamic universe that is continuously expanding. The energy output of our sun is in many respects misunderstood, as is its movement and its relationship to other stars. If you visualize a wheel in motion, where the sun is the center and the Earth is a circular outer body, then the heliocentric motion of the planets can be easily understood. The changing of the Earth's seasons would therefore depend on the heliocentric orbit of the Earth around the sun. Everyone who visits this channel has a unique perspective regarding the Earth changes, which is understood because not everyone thinks alike. But in analyzing the facts, there can be no comparison. The facts speak for itself. You are entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts. This was a famous quote that was coined many years ago by one of America's great diplomats. These are words that ring true in our time. We see a lot of misconception in today's society, making it difficult to distinguish truth from fiction. What we know about the sun and the planet's movements in space is very complex. It goes well beyond what we have been told. The more important observation that can be derived from this discussion is the rotation of our sun around another star, which is difficult, if not impossible, to observe because the other star is also in motion. Coincidentally, the path of the sun cannot be unfettered from the solar system because the system is carrying you, the observer, through the continuous seasonal cycle of sunrise and sunset, which hinders the motion of the sun against the backdrop of stars, which argues that our universe, indeed all galaxies, are part of an infinite system of stars and planets that far exceeds one's imagination. Among the many changes happening on Earth is one that concerns geological features and whether plate tectonics is playing a role in planetary expansion. In retrospect, there are indications that the planet is encountering a series of events that points to the upheaval centered at the Earth's core. We know that the north magnetic pole is shifting towards Siberia. It began gradually some time ago, but its movement has now accelerated at a speed up to 35 miles per year. A number of incidents provide ample proof of an accelerated shift. Take, for example, the fissure that cracked open in Pakistan last year, which spans several hundred miles, one of the longest earth fissures ever witnessed. This is an extremely dangerous region where the Eurasian plate rubs shoulders with the Indian-Australian plate. There are many other regions where giant fissures have formed, which has many people, including prominent geologists, very worried. A sudden rise of water on Lake Michigan, referred to as a seiche, took place on April 13th. The lake rose nearly 14 inches in just 42 minutes. These images show the sudden rise in levels, providing a dramatic glimpse of the event. Strange-looking tsunami clouds rolled into the area just prior to the lake phenomenon. In the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, Winter Storm Xanto blasted Minnesota and Wisconsin, setting historic spring snowfall to these states. Xanto officially brought nearly 16 inches of snow to Minneapolis-St. Paul, making it the heaviest April snowstorm on record. It was also the 12th heaviest snowstorm of all time in the Twin Cities. Winter Storm Xanto pushed Minneapolis-St. Paul to its snowiest April on record, with 26 inches of snow as of April 16th. Green Bay, Wisconsin picked up an astonishing 24 inches of snow from Xanto, ranking not only as the city's heaviest April storm, but also the second heaviest snowstorm of all time. While residents of the upper Midwest were clearing a pathway from their record-breaking snowfall, residents of Oklahoma were being evacuated as wildfires raged across the state, charring more than 366,000 acres and prompting a state of emergency declaration. This chart from the Forestry Division shows the location of fires throughout the state. The smoke generated by the wildfires created an eerie scene across portions of Oklahoma. The summer of 2017 was a remarkable year for wildfires, especially in the Pacific Northwest. These fires were so ferocious that they had the same effect on our planet as a volcanic eruption. The heat and smoke generated from these fires resulted in the formation of massive storms, known as pyrocebus. These storms swept the smoke very high into the atmosphere, where it began to move over the northern hemisphere. Because 2017 was a record year for wildfires, the concern is that catastrophic fire events will continue into the foreseeable future. Pyrocebus form when conditions are met for fire heat and smoke to generate what are called dirty thunderstorms. The smoke from these fires can reach the lower stratosphere, where it can spread long distance. On the 12th of August 2017, 5 tremendous pyrocebus formed in British Columbia, Canada, and in Washington state. For many days, an enormous smoke plume which developed from these dirty storms moved from the Canadian Arctic across the Hudson Bay, and finally into the Atlantic Ocean. From there, the fallout continued to spread across the northern hemisphere, where it remained until late fall, early winter of 2017. These were wildfire-generated storms that behaved much like a volcanic eruption. Satellite data estimates that the mass of the smoke plume was between 100 and 500,000 tons, which is approaching the output of the Alaskan volcano eruption of Kasatochi in 2008. These fires produced more fallout in just one evening than what was produced in the entire fire season of 2013. The potential for climate implications from these fires is therefore very real. The 2017 wildfires in California's Napa Valley were the most destructive in U.S. history. This fire killed dozens of people and caused $18 billion in damage. If climate change creates a more tropical environment in the lower latitudes, then the potential for repeats of these events will increase. The state of Nebraska is buzzing after a series of earthquakes shook the central region in the span of a week. Since 1931, the state has only been shaken a total of 45 times, which makes the most recent swarm quite unusual. The quakes most likely occurred along underground fault lines in a portion of the state where the geological structure is not thoroughly mapped. While the ground was shaking in Nebraska, much further north in New Brunswick, Canada, the township of McAdam was shaken by 14 earthquakes in the span of 17 days. Back in 2016, the same community experienced more than 100 small earthquakes, which shook homes and broke windows. A scientific explanation has never been given for either of these seismic events. According to data from Natural Resources Canada, there have been 23 earthquakes in the province over the past 30 days. More than half of the earthquakes have occurred in the middle of the night at a shallow depth. Because there are no well-defined fault lines in this area, researchers are puzzled as to what may be triggering these events. And so the mystery of these earthquakes have raised speculation that something strange is happening below the surface in places where activity is not a common occurrence. Meanwhile, on the Hawaiian island of Kauai, gigantic storms triggered mudslides and catastrophic flooding as 2 feet of rain dropped from the sky. In Honolulu, 27 inches of rain fell in a 24-hour period. In the vastness of the South Pacific, penguins have settled on an island of plastic waste. Is this what our oceans have become? Sad to say, humanity is playing with the Earth's equilibrium. As you look to the sky, be not dismayed, for the beauty of the heavens will be on full display to both comfort you and guide you in a time of trouble. Thanks for watching.